Welcome to Biohacking with Brittany. I am your host, Brittany Ford, a holistic nutritionist, content creator, podcaster, and all of the things. And I'm excited that you are listening today. This is another solo episode. I've been doing a lot of these lately as I have been working on my health a lot lately, going through a lot. And so I just really feel like, I have a lot to share. I do have some really exciting interviews coming up though. Some people and some brands who I've reached out to who I just love what they're doing in the health and wellness space. And I'm really excited to be bringing them on the show. I've become extremely picky about who I'm now interviewing on the podcast. It wasn't always that way, but now I'm in a place where, and if you have kids, you definitely understand this. If I'm going to sit down for an hour and talk to somebody, it has to be somebody who I respect and I want to talk to a lot and really just love and agree with what they're doing in the space. Whereas prior to having kids, I think I was a lot easier and just a bit more flexible about, who I would spend my time with. Not to say that I didn't respect those people, but it's just so different now with a baby. And so I'm excited to be talking to some big players in the space of pediatric health, motherhood in general as well. Women's health is what I'm trying to say. So I am really, really excited about that. Before we jump into today's episode, I want to read a DM that I got. I haven't done this in a while, but this DM I got yesterday and it was just really nice. So I'm just going to read it to you. And I want you to know that I read your DMs. Sometimes it takes me like 5 days to respond to all of them, but please know that I read them and I do get to everybody at one point. Okay. So this woman wrote, "Hey there, Brittany. I just wanted to say thank you so much for the content you've been putting out there lately. I'm a new mom too. And honestly, it has been a challenge to find honest information out there about everything from pregnancy to babies. I know that being a new mom and having high standards for health is both overwhelming and stressful. Kudos to you for putting in the work to research the best products and health information for your baby and sharing it with us. You have no idea how much you've helped me and others just by sharing your personal experiences. You're doing an amazing job. I just wanted to let you know that." That is so nice. That is so encouraging. Thank you so much for writing that in. I have kind of been moving into that space more. So what I'm kind of doing now, especially even with the podcast, is like the things that I am going through health-wise, I just turn into a solo episode and then create social media content off of that as well. Because I just feel like it's relatable and it's honest and authentic. And so I'm really happy that that is actually resonating with people. I have definitely lost followers and part of my audience since becoming a mom and becoming pregnant. All of the biohackers who just don't identify with that phase of life have probably dropped off a bit. And that is totally, totally okay. I think I've also gained a new audience as well of healthy moms, crunchy moms trying to kind of make all of this work. And that's also beautiful. So I kind of had a feeling that that would happen as my content shifts to more of this like women's health and child health space. I kind of knew that, it's kind of like whenever you niche down, no matter where you're kind of going with your content, I kind of knew that that would happen because it's just not relatable to everybody anymore. And to be honest, I don't want to be a biohacker influencer or podcaster that just like generally covers everything. There are a lot of other people already doing that. And so if I can focus more on women's health and baby health and children, then that makes sense for me. And that's what I'm going to do. And so I'm really happy that this new mom was able to resonate, and shout out to you. Thank you for sending that DM to me. And yeah, that just, it's very encouraging. It means a lot. So today's episode, we are diving into inflammation. Ooh, this is a little bit of a sore spot for me right now. So I'm going to dive into why in a second. Before I do so, shout out to Biooptimizers. They are doing their biggest November sale ever, biggest sale ever in November. Listen to my mom brain. They are doing as much off, I think it's 25% off of all supplements site-wide. Now, if you use my discount code, you get that 25% off through my link, through my discount code. So I suggest you do that. They have a great magnesium, digestive enzymes. They also do a mushroom breakthrough product. They have protein powder. They have a bunch of different things that I use, and they have a probiotic as well. And so I strongly suggest looking into that. November, I buy a lot during Black Friday because I really don't like paying full price for things. And so if I can get things on sale, I'll do so. So I strongly suggest you check that out and look into Bioptimizers. If you've heard about them and you need some support, this is the time to order. Use my discount code BioHackingBrittany and it will get you the most amount off. And a shout out to Wellness. This is the wellness brand by Mama Wellness Mama, and Katie Wells. And she has a bunch of different natural products. A lot of people love her toothpaste, although she has a bunch of other things as well. And it's actually clean products. It doesn't have any fluoride in it, doesn't have any toxins, preservatives, additives, colorings, all types of weird things that they're adding into cleaning facial, teeth, oral products now. So check out Wellness. You can use my discount code BioHackingBrittany as well, and it will be linked in the show notes for you. If you want to kind of start cleaning up your personal care products so that you are exposed to less toxins, this is a great brand to start with. So check that out. All right, let's dive into today's episode. I have a lot to share, and I want to talk all things inflammation. So inflammation. Okay. First of all, why are we focusing on inflammation right now? So I did a blood test during my pregnancy, and I did one postpartum recently, and my inflammation biomarker, which is HSCRP, which I'm going to get into in a second, is extremely high. And when I got my most recent results back from my postpartum one, I was really disappointed and shocked. And it wasn't even that long ago. I think I did the test 2 weeks ago. So it's a very accurate reflection of the inflammation in my body. I did this through a company called SiPhox. I will link them in the show notes and put them on my website. You can use my discount code BioHackingBrittany. It gets you 20% off. I actually just heard Ben Greenfield talking about SiPhox as well. But this is a blood test you do at home. It's available in Canada and the US. You prick your finger, you send it in, and they do a ton of different biomarkers for you. So this is who I most recently got tested with that made me realize, damn, my inflammation is really high. So just a quick note on SiPhox. I strongly recommend actually doing it because they are one of the cheapest ways that I've ever seen to be able to get your biomarkers tested. So if you do their ultimate health test, it's only $125 per kit, which is wild. And that's before my discount. So my discount will take you 20% off of that. And that tests 50 different biomarkers. And it also includes a free one-on-one coaching session with one of their health experts. It gives you personalized insights, a personalized action plan, supplement recommendations, everything like that. It is their most comprehensive range of biomarkers, and you can test every 6 months, ideally, if you do that one. So that is the one that I did, and it looks at, cardiovascular, metabolic, systemic, inflammation, hormone, thyroid, minerals, biomarkers, and all sorts of things like that. So if you are thinking, hey, I think something's going on, I want to get tested, I don't want to go through my doctor necessarily, how can I do this at home? SiPhox is great for this, and I strongly, strongly recommend you do so. I'm going to test again probably in the new year, probably in January, February, to see how my biomarkers are at that point. But I just think it's so useful getting the data to see what's going on. Because how else are you supposed to make informed decisions, right? How else are you supposed to really know what's going on? Obviously, you can go off of symptoms and instincts and that type of thing for sure. But the data is really useful when making informed decisions about your life, your practices, supplements, food, diet, all of these things like that. So definitely check out SiPhox. Let's talk HSCRP. I'm going to tell you what my levels are because I'm so embarrassed. I'm just going to be so real. I'm so embarrassed about it because I know these are high. I just cringe seeing them. But I know I've been through so much in the last 5 months and then pregnancy. I know. Yeah. So I'm giving myself a little bit of grace, but I'm also disappointed in my results. So, both can exist at the same time. So my most recent test 2 weeks ago was 2.3 milligrams per liter. In my third trimester, when I measured, I was 2.2. So I've actually gone up slightly since third trimester. Okay. For your reference, I pulled up when I was testing pre-pregnancy through my doctor, other companies. I have these values the last couple of years. My most recent test before I got pregnant was July 2023. It was 0.3 milligrams per liter. Okay. 0.3. I'm now sitting at 2.3. Oh my God. That's crazy. That's wild. That's wild. So for reference ranges for HSCRP, essentially under 1.0 milligram per liter suggests low risk of chronic inflammation. Between 1 to 3 is moderate risk, and over 3 is higher risk for chronic health issues. Okay. So you really, really do want to be under 1. You really, really do want to be under 1. So 2.3 is not even close. It's not even close. 0.3 is amazing. That good for me in the past. Way to go. But right now it's not looking like that. And so this actually explains a lot, and I'm going to get into symptoms in a little bit, but let's just backtrack a second here and talk about HSCRP in general. So HSCRP is a key inflammation marker. There is a lot of science behind it. There's a lot of research behind it, and it is high sensitivity C-reactive protein. It is an acute inflammatory protein produced by your liver in response to infection or inflammation. HSCRP measures general inflammation and can be used as a marker of heart disease and stroke risk. The lower your HSCRP, the better. So why is it so important? It is extremely important because it helps to identify a low but persistent presence of inflammation in the body. This can be an indicator of chronic inflammation types related to cardiovascular or autoimmune illnesses. Now, we all know how common autoimmune diseases are becoming. The American Heart Association identified that males, older adults, and certain ethnicities, among other lifestyle factors, are at risk of having higher HSCRP levels. I already went over kind of what the optimal levels are. The reference that I gave recently, the most recent one was, 0 to 1 is great. 1 to 3 is, moderate risk, and 3 above is pay attention. That is very, very conservative values. If we want to be, a lot more strict on it and more of a, taking a biohacker approach or a health optimization approach, 0 to 1 milligrams per liter is optimal. 1 to 1.5 is good. And anything over 1.5, pay attention to. So me sitting at 2.3, again, is still problematic. And that's actually, I just want to say as well with SiPhox is they have 2 different modes when you're looking at your dashboard with all your results. So the one mode is the clinical mode. And this has these ranges that are much larger, right? So you can take a look and be like, okay, I'm within range of what the Mayo Clinic might say, or the American Heart Association might say, something like that. But they also have biohacker mode. And when you turn on biohacker mode, again, very humbling because it will now shorten the range and show you what is actually great and what is better for every single biomarker to optimize those. So it just shortens the range all over. So I like to use the biohacker mode because I think when we are trying to be as healthy as we can, I think we need to be a bit more realistic of the values and the ranges when it comes to data and biomarkers. Now, that is a whole other discussion of why the ranges, for a lot of biomarkers are actually getting much larger and wider. And, what does that mean for our society? That is a much bigger discussion than what we're talking about today. But however, I do think that anything over 1.5 milligrams per liter for HSCRP is problematic. And I am in that state right now, and I'm very much aware of that. Do you like free stuff? Well, you're in luck because BiOptimizer's Black Friday deal starts now, and they are giving away free gifts with every purchase. That's right. I have an exclusive advance invite to BiOptimizer's Black Friday deal for the entire month of November. This is their best sale of the entire year, guys. If you're feeling stressed out or haven't been sleeping well lately, you are not alone. Story of my life. You might not be able to change all the chaos out there, but you can start supplementing with one key nutrient to improve your sleep quality, as well as over 600 other biochemical reactions in the body. That's wild. Magnesium Breakthrough is the only product I have found that has all the magnesium forms in one convenient bottle. You'll open less bottles, spend less money, and still get the top 7 forms of magnesium for better sleep, manage stress, balance hormones, improve mood, feel refreshed, all in one bottle. When you get all 7 critical forms of magnesium, pretty much every function in your body gets upgraded. Right now, for the entire month of November, BiOptimizers, the makers of Magnesium Breakthrough, are having a Black Friday blowout sale on all of their products. All month long, you get discounts with my unique code plus access to up to $100 in free gifts with purchase. This is the best time to stock up and take advantage of all the free extras you're going to get. Seriously, I would stock up for the entire year. You can get this exclusive deal through my link, especially made for you. You won't find this on Amazon or even on the company website. It's actually only through my link. So you can go to biooptimizers.com/biohackingbrittany and use my discount code biohackingbrittany to get your discount and free gifts today. One last thing you should know, all BiOptimizers supplements are best in class. If for some reason you feel differently, you can get a full refund for up to 1 year after your purchase, no questions asked, which is crazy. So again, guys, if you want to get magnesium, if you want to get their digestive enzymes, probiotic, mushroom breakthrough, all of the products that I love from them, November is easily the best time to do this. This will get you the most percentage off, the best price for the entire year, up to 25% off of everything, every single product. So go now, biooptimizers.com/biohackingbrittany. Use my discount code biohackingbrittany. It's going to be on my website. It's going to be in my show notes. It's going to be super easy for you to find. Enjoy this exclusive deal for November. So let's talk about the symptoms of high inflammation. These can range so significantly. Symptoms can include fatigue, joint pain, digestive discomfort, headaches, and even skin issues. There's such a big range here. For me personally, in postpartum, I've had quite a range of symptoms that when I actually got this result back, it made a lot of sense. So for example, I've had really, really bad back pain in between my shoulder blades, like where my rhomboid is, from carrying my son all the time. And I was thinking, I've been to the chiropractor, been to massage, really been trying to work that out. And that has definitely helped. I've also had joint pain in my wrists, again, from breastfeeding, from carrying the baby in weird angles. My wrists have been really, really sore and in a much newer way than before. So joint pain is a indicator of inflammation. I've had knee pain, again, from getting up and down so much. And I haven't really had headaches too much. I had headaches a little bit in the beginning when I was breastfeeding, and my body was kind of getting used to that, but not as much anymore. And then I have also had skin issues. So we got a sauna recently. I was using the sauna a few times a week, like basically every day. And I had a massive eczema flare up in October. And I've kind of slowed down since then. And it was probably the worst eczema flare up I've ever had. Like, I'm talking on my legs, my hips, underneath my arms. And yeah, just the worst I've ever had. And it took about almost 2 weeks to fully go away. And when I had that eczema flare up, I knew, I said, something is wrong. Like there is something going on internally for me to react this significantly from the sauna heat exposure. Pre-pregnancy, when I was using the sauna all the time in different places or a steam room, I would get like little flare-ups of eczema, like skin irritations, but nothing like what I had in October. And that was a big indicator to me that, something is off chronically, and it's not just, I was exposed to an irritant and now my skin's reacting or something like that. So those were my personal symptoms. Like I said, there are a lot of other symptoms that you can have: digestive discomfort, fatigue. The hard thing with inflammation is that these symptoms can be associated to kind of anything, right? Like, it could be that you're eating food that you don't digest well, and then you react and you have a headache, or you're dehydrated, or you're exposed to mold. Like, there's so many different ways that these symptoms can show up in the body, and so many different causes, that it's hard to know that it might be inflammation, which is just another reason why getting tested is even more important. There are a bunch of root causes of elevated CRP. I want to talk about the general root causes, and then we'll talk about ones that can happen during postpartum. So, root causes for chronic inflammation can be an infection, could be bacterial, viral, or fungal infections, and can trigger an inflammatory response as the body fights off pathogens. That's very, very normal. And that's actually what you want your body to do. Secondly, there can be tissue injury. So physical injury, such as cuts, sprains, or fractures, can lead to localized inflammation. But this is not the chronic inflammation that we typically can see when we are testing repetitively. Autoimmune disorders, on the other hand, will indicate chronic inflammation. So conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, multiple sclerosis can occur when the immune system mistakenly attacks healthy cells, leading to chronic inflammation. Chronic stress, prolonged stress can lead to hormonal imbalances that promote inflammation in the body. Poor diets high in processed food, sugar, and unhealthy fats can contribute to systemic inflammation. Conversely, a diet rich in anti-inflammatory foods can help reduce it. Obesity, this is a big one. Excess body fat, especially visceral fat. So visceral fat is the fat that sits on your stomach, produces inflammatory cytokines that can lead to chronic inflammation. Environmental toxins, exposure to pollutants, chemicals, and heavy metals can provoke inflammatory responses in the body. A sedentary lifestyle, man, so many of us are dealing with this. Lack of physical activity is associated with increased inflammation, while regular exercise can help reduce it. And then there's some other ones like sleep disturbances, hormonal changes, chronic diseases, obviously. So you can kind of see how a lot of this is actually lifestyle based and personal choice based, if that makes sense. Things like obesity, your diet, stress, your lifestyle, like not being physically active, can all lead to this chronic inflammation, which can lead to high CRP levels, indicating the inflammation that is happening. With postpartum, it's obviously a little different. And as somebody who unfortunately had a C-section, if you have not listened to my birth podcast episode, go and do it. I talk all about that. Obviously, there's a lot of inflammation that happens at a C-section. So the body, during a C-section, like any type of cut or wound that you might have, the body initiates a healing response, which elevates CRP as tissues repair. This healing process can take months, so it's normal for inflammation to remain elevated. The other thing with the C-section is taking antibiotics. Now, I talked about this again on my birth podcast episode. I didn't necessarily want to take the antibiotics, okay? This is my first time taking antibiotics in over a decade. I understand how it wipes out the gut, how it's like putting a bomb in and it kills all bacteria, good, bad, everything like that. And I understand that it can take up to 5 years to rebuild a diverse and robust microbiome after taking antibiotics. Fully aware. And that was one of the hardest decisions I had to make during my last week of pregnancy, was if I was going to do these antibiotics or not. The tipping point for me at the time was that the risk of infection could lead to issues breastfeeding. And if you take antibiotics while breastfeeding, you have to stop breastfeeding. So for me, breastfeeding was so important and is so important to be able to nurture my child properly. That sounds bad. That's how I personally feel, properly. But I think, fed is best, and, formula has its place in society, et cetera, et cetera. But for me personally, I want to be able to breastfeed as long as possible. And so I was willing to take those antibiotics and deal with the consequences rather than risk getting an infection and having to stop breastfeeding now. However, it sucks. That totally sucks. And so I don't know how much it wiped out of my gut microbiome. I am actually doing a microbiome test through a company called Tiny Health, and they are coming on my podcast, and I will definitely be sharing those results. So antibiotics can disrupt the gut microbiome. This is a major, major factor when we're talking about inflammation. Right now, I am taking 2 different probiotics. One is by Biooptimizers, and this is the lactobacillus. I'm totally botching how you say that strain. And I just added in the Pendulum probiotic, which is Akkermansia. And that strain of probiotic is actually associated with healthy metabolism, weight management, and something that I am focusing on as well as I recover from my C-section. So this can definitely lead to inflammation, unfortunately. We also have the hormonal shifts. So postpartum brings significant hormonal fluctuations, particularly in estrogen and progesterone, both of which impact immune function. Research in Nature Reviews Endocrinology shows that these hormonal changes can directly affect CRP levels. And then we have stress and limited physical activity. So, new motherhood is stressful, and recovery time limits physical activity, which otherwise has anti-inflammatory effects. I'm definitely working on this. I've just actually increased my workouts as well. I now have the strength to be able to do so, thankfully. If you are a new mom, my recommendations around this is that even if you get tested and your inflammation is coming back high, for the first 6 weeks, I would only focus on walking and stretching, and that's it. And that's exactly what I did. After the 6 weeks, if you're feeling up to it, if you're cleared by your doctor, personally, I did not do any of that getting cleared by my doctor nonsense, because I just trust myself. But if that makes you feel better, go for it. Then you can start doing some more targeted exercises, and then eventually bring in some weights and, start doing things like a Peloton ride and that type of thing. Right now, I'm almost 4 months postpartum, and my strength has significantly come back in the last month. Yesterday, I did a leg workout. I increased my weights on every single exercise. I now ride my Peloton bike. I'm nowhere near the capacity of what I once was, but I'm definitely stronger. And a note on this as well is if you have the ability to see a pelvic floor physiotherapist, I strongly recommend you do that. Last week, I had my first postpartum visit. She assessed my core and she also did an internal exam. And my core showed that it is closed. So I did have a diastasis recti, which is when the abs separate. And you can see this if you lie on your back, you put your knees up and you do a half crunch. And if you see doming, like the fat basically sticks up between your ribs, like between the two abs. If you see that, that means that there's a gap there and that needs to be kind of closed together. So mine is closed, thankfully. And that is from doing postpartum workouts, ab workouts, not necessarily like crunches, but I am doing the postpartum workout by Kayla Itzinez. I think that's how you say her last name. She's an Australian influencer. She has the app called Sweat. And I've been using this app for like 5 years. So their postpartum workouts are phenomenal. And there's all, like when you start it in the beginning, like, so I started week 6 of my postpartum. When you start it, it's all about like breath work and very lightweight exercises, nothing harmful at all. But it's through those gentle exercises that you're activating your core again and will actually be able to kind of close that gap. So my physiotherapist was able to assess that and said it's closed and my strength is back. My Kegel strength is back as well. However, I am dealing with some tightness internally that I have to work on and loosen and help make it be more flexible again. Toothpaste. We all need it and use it daily, but have you ever read the ingredients of your toothpaste or noticed the FDA poison warning on there? If not, keep on listening for some surprising information that your dentist might not be sharing with you. Fluoride has long been a common ingredient in many commercial toothpastes, hailed for its ability to prevent cavities. However, recent studies have raised concerns about the potential health risks associated with fluoride exposure. These risks include thyroid dysfunction, dental fluorosis, skeletal fluorosis, and potential neurotoxicity. Given these concerns, Wellness offers a safer alternative that doesn't compromise our health, yet remains effective. Why choose Wellness toothpaste? It is founded by Wellness Mama Katie Wells, and Wellness is dedicated to natural health and uses hydroxyapatite instead of fluoride, a game changer in oral care. Here's why it is a better choice. It's fluoride free, eliminating all the health risks that I just talked about. The natural hydroxyapatite formula strengthens enamel and whitens your teeth. Plus, it's crafted from natural ingredients, gentle on gums, and eco-friendly. I love it. I use it all the time. I love the taste of it. And I don't think I will switch to anything else. So make the switch for yourself today to Wellness toothpaste. Visit wellness.com and use code BioHackingBrittany for 12% off your order. That's Wellness spelled WELLNESSE.com. Safeguard your health with Wellness because your smile deserves the best. So that's my little tangent. I strongly suggest every single mom out there to see a pelvic floor physiotherapist, especially if you're having symptoms. So if you have like, I'm forgetting the official term for it, but if you're having bladder issues, let's say, painful sex, if you notice the diastasis recti as well, things like that, it can be really helpful for. And if you're thinking of having future children, more children, I would strongly suggest it for anyone. So that is kind of why I think my inflammation is high. I think it was the C-section. I think it was the antibiotics, the hormonal shifts, and the stress of having a new baby and learning all about that. And I would guess that even if you don't have a C-section, the physical impact of birth on the body, I would guess that it would lead to inflammation of some sort. I wonder, actually, I should have researched this. I wonder if there's research on postpartum inflammation and, the average inflammation goes down at 6 months or 1 year after postpartum. Like, I'm super curious. Wait, let me just actually research it right now. So it's kind of like what I thought. I think the reduction of inflammation after birth can widely vary for individuals. Some studies suggest that there's a general trend for inflammation levels to decrease in the postpartum period within the first few weeks to months after delivery. I think there's a major spike after birth due to the trauma and the hormonal changes. And then there's also the trying to get back to pre-pregnancy state. But factors like individual health, diet, stress, and lifestyle can significantly impact this. And I also think underlying health issues as well can impact this as well. So, I just did a quick research or search online, and it doesn't seem like there is some sort of, this is kind of the timeline for everybody type of idea. And that's not surprising. Health is so individualized and personalized at this point that even you listening to this podcast, hopefully it can help you and encourage you, but your situation is going to be completely different than mine. So now that we understand the root causes of chronic inflammation, high inflammation for both postpartum and not postpartum, and we understand what it presents in the body, like how that can change for different people, we understand what CRP is. Let's talk about what we can actually do about this. Let's talk about biohacking strategies. Okay. This is kind of what I'm doing. We will see how this works. I do want to say there are the foundational things that you can do. We're talking diet is probably number one. Staying away from things like alcohol, processed foods, high sugar foods is super, super important. For me, this is something that I have had to edit a little bit in my life. I don't even want to say it. I was eating ice cream every night for, I think, the first, 3 months postpartum. And I would justify it to myself because it's like coconut ice cream, right? So doesn't have any dairy in it or any soy, but there's still sugar in it. So I would have this every single night after dinner. I would have a coconut ice cream bar, and it was like portioned. So it was only however many calories, let's say like 200 calories or something, maybe 300. I don't know. And it was like my treat at the end of the day of like, I got through another day of having a baby. Here's my ice cream bar. Thankfully, I have killed that habit and I'm not doing that anymore. I was also eating these protein bars because I was just hungry all the time that had so much added sugar to them. I'm not eating those anymore. And so I've really started to kind of be much more aware of my sugar intake, especially getting these results back. So I think the diet is the most important part here. Aim for high fat, moderate carb, high protein is what I would kind of aim for if you can. Mostly just stay away from processed foods, things that come in a package, that are made in a lab somewhere, cookies, cakes, pastries. Even if they're somewhat healthy, just be careful with them and over consuming them. We want to be eating things like healthy meats, fish, vegetables, fruit, trying to stay as natural foods and less man-made processed foods as possible. Then we also have physical exercise. This has anti-inflammatory effects. This has been studied significantly. Even exercising once a day, even walking once a day is very helpful. So moving your body, doing what you can, and understanding that, if you are in the postpartum period, every month you're going to get stronger and heal faster and be in a better state. Your health will be in a better state. So you'll be able to do more. If you're early on, walking around the block, good job, right? Like, I don't think I even left the house for the first, I don't even know how many days. And then I was just doing 15-minute walks and that was it. Like really minimal, really minimal. You're bleeding, you have so much going on that it's tough. It's definitely tough. Once you get to the third month, it's much easier. And now I'm just finishing up my fourth month, definitely easier. And so making your physical activity a priority is important. And how do you do this with a baby? Like realistically, how do you do it? So for me, I put my baby into a stroller and I go for a walk. He doesn't love the stroller, to be honest. So there has been many walks where he will start crying and I will have to take him out and I walk with him held in one arm and I push the stroller with the other arm and we walk home. That has happened many times. Okay. But I still get out. I still try and do it. The other thing that we do is like we have a home gym and in the afternoons, I will actually just take him downstairs to the gym with me. I will take a play mat. So he has his toys and I just do my workout with him. So he'll watch me work out. And yeah, I'm not listening to like super pump up loud music, or I'm probably not as in the zone as I would be if he wasn't there, but at least I'm getting it done. And so that's how a lot of the time I've been able to go and stretch and lift weights is because I just bring him with me and we do it together. Once he starts crawling and walking, I don't know how that's going to work, but we will cross that bridge when we get to it. So that's how I kind of do it. The Peloton is tough because I find that you sit on the bike for 30 minutes. It doesn't really work having the baby there. So, I can try and do this while he naps, or if I have support, then I will be able to do a Peloton ride. So I strongly suggest figuring out how to make it work for you because physical activity drastically can reduce your inflammation levels, especially if you do it every single day over time. So those are the two big ones. I want to say like get quality sleep, but that just sounds ridiculous when you have a baby. If you don't have a baby, absolutely. Biohack your sleep to the nth degree. Please, please do everything that you can. There's so much content out there online about how to do that. You don't need to hear it from me right now. If you have a new baby, honestly, do what you can. And I am not going to tell you sleep when the baby sleeps. That's such nonsense. I am not going to tell you that because I don't do that. I think I did that like once or twice in the first few weeks, and that was it. I'm not a napper. It's not in my, biology to nap. And so I just doesn't work for me. So get whatever sleep you can. If you have a partner, hopefully you guys can kind of figure out a schedule that like maybe he or she takes the mornings or takes the beginning of the night, uses a bottle. I don't know what your feeding situation is. Figure it out and try to get as much sleep as you can. For me, I usually will get between 6 to 8 hours of sleep a night. However, that is extremely broken up. And sometimes I'll wake up once a night if he feeds once a night. Sometimes it will be, 5 times a night. We're going through a bit of the 4th month sleep regression right now. And he's rolling over onto his stomach, which wakes him up. So last night I woke up like 8 times. Okay. So I'll be in bed for, 9 hours, but I'll actually only get 6.5 hours of sleep, something like that. Figure out what works for you to go to bed early and make it a priority. However, know that your sleep is not going to be great, probably for the first, 6 months. My sleep is generally good, but it's definitely not great. So those are the things that I would focus on, diet, nutrition, exercise, sleep, that type of thing. But then there are some extra biohacking strategies that we can kind of employ, regardless of if you're postpartum or not, to reduce your inflammation. So a big one that people talk about is curcumin. So curcumin, which is the active compound in turmeric, is well studied for its anti-inflammatory effects. Research published in Molecules reveals that curcumin can lower HSCRP and reduce inflammation by blocking pro-inflammatory molecules like NF-κB. I'm incorporating curcumin supplements with black pepper to enhance absorption, aiming for the most effective anti-inflammatory response. So this is a supplement I'm ordering right now. I will link it in the show notes to be able to reduce my inflammation levels. Then we have probiotics. So obviously we really want to support the gut, whether you took antibiotics or not. the gut always kind of needs love and always needs support. So for me, I'm taking Akkermansia from Pendulum. I'm also taking the other probiotic from Biooptimizers. And I also incorporate fermented foods every day, every other day. Things like sauerkraut, kefir, that type of thing. Akkermansia, this particular probiotic strain supports the gut lining and may help to reduce systemic inflammation. Gut health has a strong influence on immune function, so I'm pretty optimistic about the benefits here. And I'm also getting my microbiome tested with Tiny Health. I will link them in the show notes as well. You can use my discount code BioHackingBrittany. I think it gets you, is it 10% off? Might be more. Definitely check that out though. And I just ordered that test for me and my husband, and my son Callahan is also getting his microbiome tested because it is so pivotal to your health. And I think it's really important to get tested frequently on it. The next supplement that I will shout out for inflammation is fermented cod liver oil. I started this a few weeks ago, and I started this because I wanted to increase my omegas in my diet to be able to produce fattier breast milk. However, it is a mega powerful anti-inflammatory supplement. So I'm using fermented cod liver oil from Green Pasture. I will link it in the show notes. I got it from Amazon, and it provides both omega-3s and natural fat soluble vitamins such as vitamin A and vitamin D, which further support immune health. Research consistently shows that omega-3s can help reduce CRP by lowering inflammatory cytokines. So I actually just doubled my dosage. I was taking 1 teaspoon a day. When I got this inflammation, when I got my test result, I doubled that. So now I'm taking 2 teaspoons a day, and I will probably do this for the next 3 months and then test and see where I'm at. Fermented cod liver oil is the best that you can get. That is because it is the least processed cod liver oil out there. Fermented means that there's no heat applied. It's a very natural way to be able to get the oil from the fish. This is what I strongly recommend you do. Not a lot of companies do this. So you can research into it. Not a lot of companies do it. Green Pasture is the only one that I know of and have had easy access to. This is what I, suggest you get if you can. And I'm actually starting Callahan on cod liver oil next week once he hits 4 months. I have the Nordic natural one, which is okay for infants. And then once he finishes that bottle, I will switch him to a fermented cod liver oil. I just got to find one that doesn't have any, flavoring or anything like that added to it. So we'll see what I can do for him. But for me, I take the one by Green Pasture, and I actually take it with butter oil added to it. And that has been shown to increase the absorption of the cod liver oil in the body, which is a very Western A price thing to do. That's where I learned about it in that book. It's called Nourishing Traditions for Pregnancy and Childcare. I think that's what it's called. And they talk a lot about butter oil and fermented cod liver oil. And that's also where I learned that at 4 months, baby can start taking cod liver oil. It's great for brain health, cognitive health, and for them to grow. Then I definitely want to talk about the sauna. If you have access to a sauna, I strongly recommend you use it, or a steam room. Studies show that regular sauna use can lower CRP levels and overall inflammation markers, likely due to the heat's impact on circulation and immune response. Sauna can help reduce oxidative stress, which is essential when managing inflammation. I aim to use my sauna a few times a week, building to longer sessions. So even though I had that skin flare up, I am going to start using the sauna again, probably twice a week for 30 minutes. So do 15 minutes, come out, let my body temperature completely come down, stand outside because it's cold outside now, and go back in for another 15 minutes. The heat shock proteins that are produced from a sauna are super important and are really healthy for you. And so even though it might cause the skin flare up for me, I think the benefits outweigh that. I guess we'll see how I feel. And something that I am going to do to kind of support my skin in the sauna is moisturizing before I go in and sitting on a towel. So, obviously the moisturizer and the cream doesn't get all over the sauna. And then I'm going to be moisturizing after my shower as well, because you have to shower, you have to wash off all the toxins, and then you can add the moisturizer back onto your skin. So I'm going to do that. I'm also going to be ordering a hair mask and starting to do hair masks in the sauna, because the heat opens up the cuticles and it can really help to get moisture and the healthy particles from the hair mask into the cuticle. And I'm going to do a whole podcast episode on postpartum hair loss, because it started for me, unfortunately. And I'm learning a lot right now, so I can't necessarily speak on it yet, but I will. So sauna therapy, heat therapy, if you have access to it. And then last but not least, stress management. So I'm going to be trying to do some meditation again daily. I did this for the last few weeks of my pregnancy, and I found it really helped to ground me. And there is a lot of research that shows and confirms that mindfulness and meditation can lower CRP. So sleep is obviously tricky, but we can, create this more calmer time during our day, even for 5 or 10 minutes when baby is sleeping, when you have support, even in the shower, kind of just tapping into that breath work, whatever that looks like for you. And there's so many apps now. There's so many apps, books, podcasts, all types of things on breath work, mindfulness, and meditation. So dive into that, because I think that can be really helpful for managing your stress during this time. And that's for anybody. Again, can be for you during postpartum, but even if you're not postpartum, I think bringing in some sort of mindfulness like that is a huge player in this space here. Something I'm terrible at, but I'm trying to work at to help my body get better. I'm going to test again. I did that test at the end of October, so I'm probably going to test at the end of January and see where I'm at. And I, again, really recommend getting tested with SiPhox. Like I said, they do so many different biomarkers, all types of things: insulin, HbA1c, vitamin D, your hormones, cortisol, ferritin, FSH, triglycerides, cortisol, all types of things. And I strongly suggest getting a look at what is going on with your health. Again, it's super affordable, which we love. I will link all of this in the show notes for you. I hope this was helpful for postpartum inflammation, postpartum healing, and inflammation in general. So many of us are dealing with chronic inflammation that I think we need to be talking about it more and realizing that there's actually so much we can do for it. So stay tuned for another episode coming next week. Send me a DM if you have any questions or need links to products or recommendations. I'm always around. And thank you for listening. I will catch you on another episode soon. Thanks for listening to another episode of Biohacking with Brittany. If you're interested in finding the show notes or the sponsors for this episode, you can do so on my website, which is biohackingbrittany.com. Remember to follow me on Instagram, where I'm most active. My handle is @biohackingbrittany. And if you're interested in working together and you want to email me directly, you can do that. My email is info@biohackingbrittany.com. And I look forward to hearing from you and having you tune in next week.